that's why, hang on, it says recording in progress. There we go. That's why that was the first lead in, but Matt did sort of window dress a couple other properties, but he hasn't done a deep dive and some of the suggestions that Cindy said last night too. So I believe in this developer. I've seen a lot of different quote developers of various types through the years, and I think he would do a nice product, and he is trying to figure out a way to hit that niche where you get attainable workforce. And it was brought up last night, Kate and Laura, that if you do affordable housing, Section 8 and everything else, Main State Housing and all these other programs, there's lots of monies for that to help a developer. But if you want to do something that's in that moderate price range, it's almost impossible to find any type of subsidy. So I think that was clear. We hopefully will have some support for him down the road as he maybe gets into the public process and we get, tap into the pulse a little bit more.
Thank you. Shelley?
So the other thing is that he hasn't really talked to yet everybody on the street to find out. He didn't know that it was a public access to a snowmobile, how it was presented. If they can't get the support and the funds to do the workforce attainable housing, then they're looking at putting $400,000 houses in there. So I guess personally, what I fear is that how does the neighborhood feel about it? I mean, I know that and the other thing is that one of the selectmen brought up, two of them actually, was the increased density, because evidently the lot is divided on how it is zoned. And I don't want to end up in the same situation where the town's being promised that there's going to be affordable housing where somebody actually can afford a house, and then it ends up being another development where second homeowners are taking valuable property, and we're changing ordinances and everything to get this development in with no real answer of which direction they would go in. I'm 100% for it if they're going to do the attainable housing. I'm not sure how I feel about them using that property for $400,000 houses. But like I said, it was a lot last night, a lot of information, and I got to run some numbers today because their idea of attainable housing is like a $200,000 house. Can actually somebody that works for local businesses and stuff afford a payment of a $200,000 house, have a car payment, insurance, taxes? So I've still got to process a lot more on it, but I just don't want to end up where the neighborhood totally rejects it and then the town ends up in another lawsuit because somebody doesn't want the project on the street. I am seriously concerned with that street because it's not a regular size street. You don't have a sidewalk, so if something happens and we have to add improvements to that because of that traffic of those new vehicles, then how are we going to, we're going to take property away from the neighbors. So like I said, I really would be more convinced if I have the neighborhood agreeing to this.
And Shelley, Matt does want to do that. He came right out even before last night's meeting. He wants to meet with the neighbors. He wants to chat with them about it. And a couple of the things did come up to offer assurances and guarantees, everything from deed restrictions to how the memorandums of understanding are written out for the housing. He doesn't really want to do $400,000 homes in there. He would prefer to do something like the last cottage model that we saw on the slideshow last night, right, which fits the character of Rangeley with so many cabins and small homes. And I think that there might be a way to split the difference. The other thing, the market analysis that Camoin Associates did for the housing study, they do show the affordability issue in new home purchases, and it is less than 200. I can't remember the exact figure, it might have been 175. But if the price can be attainable, let's say they build the homes and they're able to sell them for 200 or 225, but there's some subsidy through first-time home buyers, Mainstay Housing Authority, where the down payments are waived or reduced, or that $50,000 can go towards the home, and then that could reduce. There are programs to look at that when we get further down the road, and I'd be happy to help out with that.
Right.
I have a question on, because I'm a little confused, I guess. So it's a request of changing zoning for option A, which is the affordable housing component. Is that correct?
Yeah, the attainable housing. And one of the things too, it's a subject that's sometimes highly debated, which is densities. The most communities in the state really want to see improvements with housing densities in the downtown. So zoning, and oftentimes is adjusted to reflect that. And then if you factor in smart build, smart growth, and energy efficiency into that, you're hitting all the targets or ticking all the boxes. So that's what would happen when they look at increasing the density. And the other piece is you need a certain return on an investment, even if you're a patient investor, you're not trying to, rake the town over the coals and, just have this huge profitability, but you want to at least, pay for all the development that you did. The density is a key piece within reason. And they have, as he brought up last night, overlay districts that can be done. There are, different models around the state. The state's pushing this too. And just as of 9 o'clock this morning, something came in from MMA. There's a big thing on housing densities or whatever. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but so I think that's the issue where the Cross Street property straddles two different zones. So I think that just needs some clarification, and the town of Rangeley is addressing some of those anyway. There's a meeting on chapter 38 on the 10th coming up. And so we'll see how this shakes out. And that is Shelley mentioned too. There
Can I
are
ask
other
another question,
properties.
Daryl?
Yeah.
And Shelley, so option 2, the $400,000 one, I don't know how many acres that lot is, but that's based on normal zoning. It's 5 acres. So how many houses would he be able to build in a 5-acre area? And wouldn't that be the case no matter who it was, no matter what the situation? I mean, anybody could buy that lot and build five houses or 4 houses or whatever the zoning is. And they could build $1 million house, right? I mean, we don't really have an ability to say if it's in the zoning requirements for that lot.
They'd have to get subdivision approval, but the answer to your question is generally yes. The market could come in and build whatever houses they wanted to.
So option A is, let's do this attainable, affordable type housing, get some workforce, have some rules, get some funding from different groups to get, so to allow somebody to have $1,000 rent or $1,200 rent type thing. Downtown walkability, some rules around those requirements, like you have to actually work here, you have to do this, you have to live here. And then option 2 is none of that happens and they just buy the lot and build whatever they want. Basically. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Right.
But did they didn't even present option 2. You're just bringing that up as a possibility, correct? Because he didn't say anything about wanting to do that when he presented to us.
Yeah, he doesn't want to do that. He does
Okay.
want to do the attainable, kind of straddle that affordable, attainable to find a way to hit that niche without having to, but he just said, well, that could be done if we can't get any movement anywhere, then it's just another developer doing another housing project at market rates or thereabouts. And he doesn't want to do that. He does want to do the attainable housing piece, the workforce piece, just question of figuring out a way to connect the dots, get the public input, the select board input from last night, and then the neighborhood, and see where it goes, and then see if there's some adjustments that need to be made with the zoning. And it also covers 2 subjects: home ownership, single family homes, and rental units. And there's a need for both, because who could afford a new home now? And the other piece is, well, who could afford some of the rents? And he brought that up last night, that he'd like to, have the monthly rents, hopefully not to exceed 1,000, or at least be in that range, because a lot of people who are working 2 jobs can't afford it. And Shelley brought that up, and that's very true. So I guess we'll see, to be continued.
So I guess Shelley and Joe and everybody, I agree with Joe. The next step is to get the public workshop and start getting some of the people in the community to get their feel for it. Actually, you know, what I think is a concern of mine right now is there might be a lot of floating rumors about what's going on or what he's thinking, and that can only just bring ill will and ill, you know, people just make assumptions that aren't true. So I think it's probably important to do that sooner rather than later. And especially with the locals who are gonna be surrounding that project. I don't know what you consider a neighbor, is that, it's not direct abutters. I don't know, it's abutters plus, right? It would be the
Yeah.
entire street. Well, the street crosses another street too, right? So I guess just figure out what the zone is that you want to make sure that people feel comfortable with that. And try to schedule that as soon as possible with Matt there, so he can explain, you know, in detail what they're trying to do.
Right, and also what the request is from the town. I think that's something we all need to be very clear about. He's asking us to help him with the community grant. There's something else in that name, Community Genesis Grant or something like that. And also, possibly TIF funding, and then possibly considering zoning changes. It really are those three things that I see are zoning amendments.
Yeah. So
Those are the three things that I think he's requesting from the town.
Yeah, I concur with that, Joe. And it's a community solutions grant
Okay,
through Maine State Housing Authority for $500K. And it's very similar to CDBG or Community Development Block Grants, where the grantee has to be the community, the local unit of government, but it can be on behalf of a project, which would be, let's say, his housing project. So we'll see. I think that it's good to have this dialogue. Everybody's learning a lot about this. And then the next step, I guess, is the public piece, the neighborhood piece, and see where we are.
One of the, I mean, if they're looking for like, so I'm just gonna throw it out there. One of the rumors is that they're paying too much.
Oh, Cindy brought that up.
Yep. And so her group is hearing it in mine, because I didn't know how to address it to just other than to come out and say it, but she did it before I did it. We didn't even talk about it. So her group of people and my group of people are all talking about it.
Yeah,
And so they're going to look at it like this. I'm going to be totally blunt with you, because this is the way that small towns work. If they're overpaying for that, why should that be a tax dollar expense of any sort? So I guess that part of the negativity, I mean, I don't know, get an appraisal. That my suggestion is get appraisal, approve the price you're paying for it, and put everything out front. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it, but that's just.
He's done that, Shelley. He's done that. I think I know what the price was, and it was in line. It was okay. Because John Wozleski wouldn't have approved it otherwise.
I think what Shelley's saying is that the local banking and housing group people who deal with these numbers all the time is thinking otherwise.
Yeah.
So,
It's small town, all you gotta do is hear it at one coffee shop and have a coffee.
I got the battle scars to prove it from all the small towns I've worked, Richmond to Fort Kent, you name it. Oh, yeah.
all right, so we're gonna finish up this topic and keep going. But one thing, when we do have that public workshop, I think we do need to ask, you know, send a letter to the community versus just post that we're having a public workshop. And I think from a economic development point of view, we should ask for some of the business owners in town to come into, you know, and have some of their, at least listen.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you're gonna find people, whether it's the downtown business owners or the IGA and, you know, folks that really want workforce housing, it would be good for them to hear what Matt has to say. I agree, in all the neighborhoods as well.
All right, before we go, any other questions, concerns? Sounds like a plan. Okay, good. So Joe did send a thing that CCI hadn't heard anything about the NTIA status. I don't know what the end of January thing was, but has anybody from Connect Maine Authority heard?
I haven't heard anything. Daryl, have you heard from the state?
Yeah, I spoke with Peggy Schaefer the other day, and I think I forwarded you an article that dealt with Grafton, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Peggy Schaefer was featured in it, and that some of the ISPs, service providers, have sort of put a wrench in the works. They're protesting things that like Spectrum, Charter Spectrum, and a couple others, Comcast. And so that's delayed the whole scoring on the NITA grant application. And so the last I heard is that the decision, despite that, is supposed to be made sometime this first quarter. So end of January to March is where we are now with that. I know it's frustrating.
Well, I guess I don't understand, because the NTIA said they had a firm deadline of November, blah, blah, blah. And
Oh,
that they
yeah.
were going to announce, and then they said, we're not gonna announce publicly because we want to tell the states. And now they're renegotiating the whole grant, or?
No,
what?
not at all. Just that how they're scoring to move the process forward. It's like anytime you have any comment period, whether it's public comments or whatever the protocol is with the federal grant, there's some things in there that if there's some appealing or people are they have to take all of that into consideration. So that's delayed things. That article, maybe Joe, you could forward that to the rest of the committee, but it hit the nail on the head, because I had several quotes from Peggy Schaefer in there from Maine about that process.
So if Peggy Schaefer is being asked to do different things for the scoring purposes, does that mean we're still in the running?
We're still in the running, absolutely. And it's not a question of whether the glass is half empty or full. There's water in the glass. We got to just see how this plays out. And I've been following up with her every couple of weeks. So I guess it's just, I would hope the decision will be forthcoming sooner rather than later this first quarter.
Okay.
So the next question becomes, and the email I sent around to the plantations was, do they want to meet in the next couple of months to talk about what we were calling the Plan B? I've only heard back from Dallas, I think yesterday, and she was just checking to see if I heard from anybody else. So I think we've lost a little momentum there, and I don't know how hard I should, I don't want to use the word push, but how hard I should pursue that. I'm looking for some thoughts on that from you folks. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I guess, I mean, to me, this is exactly what we were worried was going to happen, was that we were going to go try, everyone was going to wait around for a grant, and we were going to lose any chance of doing it if we don't get a grant. And to me, we should be doing Plan B, just like we all said we should be, because we don't know if this grant is going to happen. And the grant's really only helping CCI. It doesn't make it that much difference for us. So I don't understand why we aren't going to Plan B.
I agree. I totally agree. I mean, the whole thing was, that's exactly what we were afraid of. And now it was November, and now you're talking maybe March. And then let's say we don't get it, and then they're gonna look at infrastructure deployment, and then how far down on the list are we? Are we, right? Because now the service providers are getting a free bucket of money that they can implement where they think they can get better return on investment, which is right back to where we were in the thing, that we're on the bottom of the line for return on investment for service providers. So I think we should continue to push and have that conversation.
Okay.
I don't think it has to be a quarterly meeting. I think it can be a delegate meeting for, first. And then a quarter, then we need to know CCI will still engage in that manner. So, I mean, they could be the problem, Laura.
I know,
Or
that's what
CCI might say, we don't have any interest in doing that.
that's what I was,
Yeah.
we need
Yeah, so
to
maybe we should
clarify
find that out first. So maybe we can have another conversation with CCI and just say, listen, we don't want to wait. We think we can, if we push it, we could probably get our act together here in a month or so. And then would you be interested in us pursuing that back to option A, the original option A,
Right.
not option A, 1, 2, Does that make sense?
Yes.
yes.
Shelley, any concerns?
Yeah, but would they have to have special town meeting to get that implemented? I'm just.
Absolutely. That's why we're so concerned, because it's going to take forever, and that's why we need to get working on it.
Yes.
And I thought the agreement was already in process. Have they received it and reviewed it and it's come back?
Who?
Say what agreement?
The internal agreement that that was gonna be asked that the attorneys prepare?
No, that's the problem. We haven't had any follow-on meetings to do that with the delegates.
Okay,
So we're still stuck on the interlocal agreement thing and it's not been clarified or approved yet?
No, well,
No, I
no,
mean, to get
we
an
haven't-
interlocal agreement, we gotta get the lawyers to agree, then we have
Yeah.
to go to special town meeting, each and every one of us, right? And then go enter the interlocal agreement, and then the interlocal agreement organization has to go out to funding, either bonding or, but those things take time. And,
but we
nobody's
talked
wanted to
about,
put the money or the time in, right? Because they thought they had the grant, and we kept saying, let's
Yeah.
do all the backup stuff. I mean, the words are minor. I mean, those, that
Yeah.
part's like, we just have to sit in a room and nobody leaves until we agree, right? You know, that's the final.
the next step
sorry,
was
Lynn.
that we needed to get with a lawyer. We had all the questions and everything. We just needed to get with a lawyer, and that has not happened.
That's
I
good.
thought that it would already actually happened and the
So
paperwork.
did
would
we.
be-
It's like a 6-month time warp.
Yep.
Cause one thing is being presented at the quarterly meeting and one thing is being presented with the committee, it seems like. So how do we get everybody on the same page, I guess? Yeah, I
Well,
guess I
I
would
think
ask them
everyone's
to
on the
be-
same page. It's just no one has turned that page, didn't do to do the work. We were supposed to meet with Dallas Plantation's lawyer, and that has never happened.
Okay,
And every time we have a REOC meeting, we say, okay, we're gonna try to get that meeting, and then it never happens.
so yeah, because we're gonna be behind the 8 ball, because when everybody gets that grant money, then everyone's gonna be too busy to redo it. So, yeah, I think we
Ugh.
need to push it and at least get the interlocal agreement started. And actually work on Plan B, because that's what was, everybody was on board with. Why are they holding? It doesn't mean that, and everybody had that certain dollar amount. So to me, the thought behind everything is that it is going to be, we're gonna go to the attorney and do this. Everyone agreed to pay up to a certain dollar amount.
Exactly.
So why haven't we done that part? Because we're just gonna, no matter what, we're gonna be behind the 8 ball whenever, and if the grant money comes in, great. What's a couple $100 versus millions of dollars to help us?
Great.
So yeah,
So what do we need to do?
We need
Yeah,
to get the
Joe,
delegates we need to get that to the lawyer, the questions
How
to
do
the
we do
lawyer.
that?
We
'Cause
just-
we've said that at every REOC meeting for the last 3 months.
So who is it, Linda? Linda has the questions, Linda has the lawyer contact, tell her to submit it. And we'll pay the bill. And just send an email saying, based on all of our previous conversations, we're going to the lawyer. We don't even need to have a meeting with the questions to get the first draft of the interlocal agreement, through the lawyer. That's happening now. Your portion of the payment would be approximately not to exceed number. And this will happen in the next 3 weeks. Does that make, or 2 weeks? I mean, I don't know what the lawyer's availability is. That's,
And at the same time, we go to CCI and make sure that they are still willing to do this.
right.
But don't tell Linda that.
No. Well, I mean,
Because we have to do it-
I'm not saying don't do that, tell Linda that, that's not the.
Well, we have to do it concurrent. We have to do it.
Yeah, we have to do it
concurrently.
concurrently, we gotta go forward, assuming that they are still willing to do it. And then if they say no, again, Shelley, we lose a few $100, but we've gotta get this going.
what was the amount, Joe? Was it like $500 each?
500. It was
It
500.
was $500 each. And then
Yeah.
if we go over that dollar amount, we reassess.
Correct.
I mean, I thought that was something that everybody agreed that they would be willing to take out of their general funds in order to get this started because of the importance of it and how
They
we
did.
keep ourselves in line.
They
So
did.
what do we do? Say, based on minutes from this meeting and that meeting, can you give us a status on where we're at? I mean, we can't just wait, that's the whole thing.
We can't, we're
that's
not
what
gonna say, we're, based on these minutes, we're gonna go forward to the lawyer is what I think we say. Because we're in Plan B stage right now. We do not know when the grants will be decided on and they keep getting postponed. Which was why we agreed to do this. So
So
we're going forward.
So who's going to Linda?
Joe.
I can do that. Yep. I'll do that.
because we have a plan A and a plan B. So I guess the question to Linda, I guess, would ask is like, so since plan A has been put on hold and we agreed that plan B needs to get started, what's the status, I guess? I mean.
Yep, I'll work on that today.
Linda is controlling all the plantations and the whole moving forward, or
Hmm.
is that what I understand, or?
I think there's some concern that not all the plantations are interested in Plan B, and I think that's what stalled the process was, even though it is a few $100s, I think people's thought, not my thought, but I think some people's thought was, yeah, it's only $500, but if one
But everyone
group,
agreed to it. We got agreement from everyone.
Yeah, we did on the $500.
yeah,
Okay, then we're going. Okay,
all right, there's that one.
Yeah, because I think Joe, you might have to get the recording of that or look at the minutes for that quarterly meeting that we had at the fire station, but that's the meeting, I think it was, right?
Yep.
At the Aquasic Fire Station.
Yep.
Yep. So Joe to contact.
Yep.
Committee. For a status of interlocal agreement.
I think we're done with broadband then. Is that good?
Mhm.
Okay,
What's that?
we're going to the next topic, which is the banners. Any news on
This is a
those?
real quick one. The new ones actually came in by UPS yesterday afternoon towards the end of the day. So this week I'm gonna have Keith swap out the ones that are on the poles for these new ones.
Okay,
And my thought is, I know in the past, we used to leave the lighted stuff up until snowdio-ish, and then after that, that'll come down. So so the new ones are in, and hopefully we can get those up this week.
wayfinding signs, I'm assuming not till spring.
Yeah, and really no update on that. We just gotta get the mortise and tenon stuff, those beams.
TIF update?
There is still discussion at the board level about the TIF policy. So we have a development program, which is the document that really governs the TIF that's been approved by DECD and town meeting. Beyond that, there's the option for the board to have a policy, which they are working on. The biggest thing, two biggest things it covers is credit enhancement agreement, and also one of the big hot topics has been appropriation of TIF funds, and the board, from my observation, seems to be interested in having town meeting involved in that process, so that the policy will have to reflect that appropriations of funds for projects will be blessed by town meeting annually. So that's something that's being talked about at the board level. We're working with the list on that. It'll come back probably at the next meeting for discussion, with a anticipated rollout date of April this year.
Yeah, I think that they were thinking that to put a dollar amount on it. We were looking at
There
that.
was the last conversation was, should there be a cap? And then following up with Alyssa, she said it's perfectly acceptable to have any amount go through town meeting, like you would have a list of projects that would
Okay.
be approved.
All I'm seeing is problems with that. I don't know. For me, it seems like it could just delay almost every little thing. I could see maybe on larger projects or larger things but on every little project, like, I don't know. You want to have the town approve each and every decision you make on how to do TIF when the select board has the authority to do that? To me, it seems like it could be a problem. I don't know.
It is a problem. In the half dozen or so towns, communities and TIFs I've been involved with, the development program does say that the select board makes these decisions. But in one town in Richmond, we did have it so that if it was a certain amount of a project, then it could go to the voters for annual meeting or special town meeting. It just creates a lot more process than needed. But I understand Rangeley's character. I get that, but
Well, the
there's
Rangeley's
simply a way to
character
stick
is
it
we don't
different.
get things done.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Right.
sorry, so,
Right.
and that's just a recipe for not getting certain things done.
Like,
I don't mean to sound negative like that, but
No,
I
but
mean, there's a
get
lot
that.
of things that, if you, I'm not saying don't tell the public. I'm not saying don't have meetings about the things or promote them and say, these are big projects, guys, you should come to the meetings. But
Right.
maybe not every single thing the town have to sign off on.
Yeah, no, you're right, Kate, but it says ultimately the select board's decision, what they want to do with this, if they want to take to the voters to do that. I'm on the side of entrust the select board to do that, but maybe have a caveat that if there's a certain cap amount, then take it to the voters as well. And it's the same thing with credit enhancement agreements too. So I guess to be continued on this one too, and we'll see where we are. We have policy already to rock and roll come April 1st.
Okay. Parking,
No movement at all on that, nothing.
okay, on a new business, we have comprehensive plan review.
So everybody by email should have gotten something that looks like this. The plan is to go, all the boards and committees got this, the select board has this. The plan is over the next 2 months to go through this list and identify over in the right-hand column where your particular committee lives and what the item is you're responsible for, and talk about it. See what progress we've made on it, if any, or maybe it's complete. And my suggestion would be to kind of go through that on your own, and then we'll talk about it at the next meeting. Pick the first couple of pages or something, and talk about how where we've been successful and where we might need to ramp up our efforts. And then the next stop for this will be the select board. They'll get the results of these reviews. They'll process it, and they're going to do one on their own because they were listed in here several times. They'll put all that information together, and then the committee, the comprehensive plan implementation and review committee, will get that information from the select board and process it. So that's that. It has been almost 10 years since this was adopted. So that's the goal. They'd like to go over, the board would like to go over all the results in March of this year.
Do we resubmit that to the state?
If we amend it and update it, yes, that we can resubmit it to them.
But don't we have to resubmit something after 10 years, or it's no longer?
You're not required to. It's
Okay.
a recommendation, as I understand it. If you do an update and you want it to be recognized as an update, then it's required to be submitted to them. But it's a really good exercise. I'm actually kind of excited about going through it. It really is good to help keep the vision alive, I guess, or the path forward alive.
So it'll be an item on our next agenda to review those first.
Yeah, I think, the quick updates on the other things that are on there are great, but I think this is something we should focus on. I would recommend focusing on over the next couple of months.
Okay.
And then presenting back to the board. And remember, this has got their attention too, which is very good. That they're taking the initiative on this. This was their idea, which is a very good idea.
Okay, so let's go next meeting, or anything anybody else wants to talk about?
So Joe, I just have a quick question. In regards to the attainable housing that I thought of is, have they done attainable housing in another town that's similar to ours?
I can ask that question. I don't remember offhand if he has. I know he's done affordable and senior housing, but I'm not sure if he's done attainable in a town similar to ours. I can ask Matt that question.
Yeah, I think
Thank you.
Belfast is the one that comes closest to that, Shelley.
What's that?
I think Belfast is the one that comes closest to that.
Okay, with attainable housing?
I think so. I'm not positive, but I think that sort of split the difference a little bit there.
Okay. And then how can I, do we record every one of our economic development meetings?
When there's a quorum, yes.
Oh, so when there's not a quorum, there's no.
It's not really a meeting if there's no quorum. Sometimes we'll hang around and talk for 5 or 10 minutes, you know.
Right, then it's basically just a discussion.
Yeah,
I have been typing up minutes to those, so that's why I was wondering. Because I'm assuming with the banners, did you pick a color?
yes, we did. There's 2 or 3 different colors. I can,
I know
I
there's
can get
3
them.
colors. When I
Yeah.
saw, when I was finally able to get into my email, and I saw that there was 3 different colors, and I'm like, oh, well, should we have record that that was voted on, or anyways, but, if that's fine, and no minutes were done, that's fine. I was just gonna try to catch up on it if there was.
We did have a conversation saying, I like that one, I don't really like that one, but, and don't put the top and like where the wording was, but, and then I think they went with that, so. That was in the non-quorum meeting.
And Keith, well, in full disclosure, Keith and I operationally were ready to do something with banners. We
Okay.
just, because people were present, we asked their opinion on it. Not that I don't want everybody's opinion, but we were in a position where we had to pull the trigger on it. And they happened to be there, so we asked their opinion.
All right, let's go next meeting.
So I just have one more question, because
Oh,
budgets
sorry,
are coming in, and Joe needs to know about money, so is there anything in line that needs to come from us?
That's a very good question. Glad you brought that up. I thought of that over the weekend, that I didn't have it
Yeah.
on the agenda. Budget, if you have any budget items, just let me know in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I can't think of anything like off the top of my head that says we need 10,000 for this particular thing. We are gonna need some more money. I'd have to go through what's still in our buckets, you know, to see what we've got. But my guess is if we're gonna move forward, we did talk a little bit with DOT, MOT, I guess, whatever the transportation group is, about Aquasic and doing some sidewalks and like reconfiguration down there and some parking and like a village going for a
Yes.
grant. I'm assuming that would be a either in-kind donation or would have to have some sort of monetary match. We'll have to have some sort of stuff. So I don't know what we've got in our reserves.
We
So
have a significant reserve. If it comes to that, I don't remember the amount off the top of my head, but it's in the $50,000 range.
Mhm.
But to follow up on that point, Kate, I'm glad you brought that up too. We did have a follow-up meeting with the new planner at DOT. He's brand new. And I'm waiting to hear back from him. He's looking for the money that Fred Michaud had identified that he could lend us or gift to us to get the initial concept drawing done for the Aquasic updates. I haven't heard back from him yet, but when I do, we'll know if that's enough to cover the concept drawing. And I think that should get us going through this year. I don't think, other than the possibility of some reserve money on the other end of the year to supplement construction drawings, I think the concept drawings will get us through the next year. And as I understood it, Fred Michaud had enough money somewhere to pull that off. This new person just has to find it because Fred is retired.
right.
But as another sidebar, and Daryl, I think, was in that meeting, there is significant interest at Maine DOT in this project.
Mhm.
They're talking about it in the halls.
Yeah, good.
So
So then the second, then that brings into Depot Street, right? We keep
Yeah.
talking about doing something to Depot Street. Is that in the operational budget or in the economic development budget? Or what, so you'd have to let us know what how you'd want to go forward with that.
I have somewhere in this pile is my budget paperwork. I believe there's a small amount in there somewhere for concept design on that too, which is in this year's program to get going on. So
Well, concept design and then doing some, like, so you're not thinking anything would be built until 2023?
probably not. The way we had that set up, Keith and I talked about it. We could do some things in there that we could probably do ourselves and get going relatively cheaply. But if it's going to be paved, that'll have to be designed and drainage will have to be set up and all that. That would probably be a more involved project. But
Okay,
it's not off the radar yet. It's still there.
so those are the things on the top of my, and then obviously more money to improve our lighting and banners and,
Yes.
that.
Yeah, I've left that in. I think that's in
So,
culture.
Dawn, Shelley, you weren't here last, but Dawn did resign from our committee, but she has asked to continue with the plantings in the summertime, doing the boxes. So we're in need of some members of the committee. I think we could use some.
And are we
Fresh
gonna
ideas.
need more signs?
Yeah. I mean, the plan is done. There's also the scenic byway group, right? So there's some mutual things going on.
Right.
But we were talking about in-town signs with the same theme for like the town, not just like the town park, but like the town office, the fire station, like continuing with that theme and increasing those signs. So there's some money there, but potentially needed.
Because the only thing I can think of for us is like signs and stuff. I mean, the other stuff with Aquatic and that part, yes, is part of economic development, but to me, that's something that is like a construction loan. So that's more on the public
Mhm.
works side for those types of projects. So for me, it's just, what do we need for a cost for the economic development? Are we looking to do like any surveys in town? I'm trying to think of different
Good thought
things.
process.
No,
I
all I
hadn't
can think
thought
of
about
is
it, but yeah. Maybe
signs
it's time to
and
regroup.
right.
Right now, I mean, I'm gonna tell you the same two things are the same two things that are always on our list. We need internet and we need someplace for people to live.
Right.
So that hasn't changed. We're not, right now, we're treading water, I guess, but. Yeah. Okay. I don't have anything else. Anybody else?
Nope.
Okay, so our next meeting, if we go out 2 weeks, is after, why don't we go out 3 weeks? Is after Martin Luther King is that Monday, I believe, right?
The 17th, yeah.
The 17th, so if we went to the 24th, back to a Monday at 9, does that work?
Works for me.
Works for me.
Okay, thank you all.
Thanks, everyone. Stay warm.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, yes, ma'am.
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Laura, aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.